don't know where to begin. Well, I want to thank today's episode to Cody from Reading, PA. Cody and I connected on LinkedIn. He was reaching out to real estate investors and he asked if he could pick my brain for 30 minutes. And so, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, I'm here to help answer your questions and help you on your path. So, really had a great call today with Cody. And I'm not going to give you his last name, but he is doing well. He's on his path. And like many people, Cody's worked in his career for a while. He started off, went to school, started working in banking at credit union. He now works in the finance industry. He worked his way up at his job. He's been in a new job now for about 8 months, but he's doing really well, making six figures. And he enjoys his job, but it's not something he wants to do the rest of his life. Does that sound familiar? He's making great money, making six figures. He's got a house, young, but not really, really young. He's got some work experience. I think he said he was in his 30s. I don't remember that exactly, but I asked him, I said, okay, what do you want to do? He goes, well, I want to start investing, but I don't know where to begin. I said, okay, well, tell me about your past. Tell me about your background. And he says, well, I haven't done anything in real estate. I'm like, that's okay. So that's where, I kind of pulled out to identify what his background is. And he's, been a loan officer. And we had some similarities in background, being a mortgage and finance industry. So, well, that's great. Now you understand numbers. That's good. He said, oh yeah, very, very comfortable with numbers and stuff like that. And that's why I know I need to be doing something better. I said, well, the first thing, does your job, when I already knew the answer based on who his employer was, I said, your company probably offers a 401k with matching, right? He's like, yes, it sure does. I said, well, what do they match? Is it like 1%, 3%? He goes, no, they'll match up to 5%. I was like, that's great. Please tell me you're taking advantage of putting away 5% of your own funds into your 401k and having that match. He's like, I am. I said, well, that's the great thing. I said, that's good because you can't beat that return. That's 100% return on your money right now, as long as you're vested and stay invested. And if you decide to walk away in the future, you'll walk with that money. But that's the best thing. The one thing I would do is definitely look at, and I asked him, I said, how are your funds, how's your 401k performing? Because they probably give you some different investment options. I haven't looked at it in a while. I said, well, do yourself a favor, talk with somebody. I'm glad to recommend my friend Tess Ware Smith, who's been on Note Night in America the past before. Just take a look at it, make sure you're not overpaying for fees, making sure it's performing, because you don't want to be putting money away and losing it. Having it even in a little less riskier portfolio in your 401k is not bad because you're getting 100% return on money that they're contributing. So that's the first thing. So, well, I didn't ask the amount. He told me what the amount was. He's got a sizable chunk, which is in 401k. You can't pull it out to invest with. And I said, that's fine. I understand you've asked. That's great. I said, what other type of cash do you have? Or do you, well, this thing, well, I only have 15k in savings. I'm like, okay, well, 15k is better than zero. I said, are you looking to put more away? He goes, yeah, me and my wife have been talking. We're looking to put some more away. I said, that's great. That's awesome. I said, you can't really do much with 15k, but you don't have to have a lot of cash to start investing. We talked a little about wholesaling. We talked a little about subject to deals. He's in an area outside of Philadelphia there in Reading. He's seen some things. He's like, yeah, I wish all my people that live around me have sold their houses. It's kind of turned over in the last few years. I wish I could have bought some of these a few years ago. I said, yeah, you could have, but it's a different story back then. I said, it's good to have cash now. I said, speaking of your house that you live in, have you seen some appreciation? He goes, oh yeah, I got a ton of equity in my house. I'm like, okay, well, how's your credit? He goes, it's good. Very good. I said, when I worked at the previous credit union, we actually did the loan there. I said, well, if you've got a ton of credit, and he said he's got over six figures in equity. I said, well, why don't you go to your credit union and see what they can offer you as far as a line of credit or whoever your lender is. If you've got good credit, he goes, oh, I've got excellent credit. So, well, go get a line. Doesn't mean you need to pull that money out, but go get a line of credit and see, because it's good to have that in case you get a deal and you need to act fast. That will help you. If they're going to charge you 6-7% on a line of credit, but you can make 12% or greater, it's good. It's a good difference there. Just making sure you know your payments and how, if it's revolving or if it's a fixed rate, those kind of things you need to know. And he's like, I understand completely what you're talking about. Great. And he goes, well, I have an old 401k from my previous job. And I'm like, okay. You didn't say it, but he goes, I go, how much is that? He goes, oh, it's only about 25,000. I said, well, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I said, you can actually, instead of rolling it over into your current 401k, you can take that IRA or that old 401k and move it into a self-directed IRA. He's like, what's that? I said, well, that's an account, it's an individual retirement account But if you move it into a self-directed IRA, one that's actually with a self-directed custodian, not like your 401k company or Schwab or Vanguard or anything like that, or Fidelity, into a company like Camaplan or Equity Trust or Quest, there's a whole bunch of them. And I gave them a couple names up in the area. I said, you can actually use that 25K to lend to people to make a good return, or you can use that money to buy, real estate or notes, and all the profit would have to go back in to that IRA because it's a separate entity. You can't realize that profit. It's like, oh, that's great. I don't need to if I've got to make good money. I said, okay, that's awesome. So you actually have a better path. You got your 401k, you're maxing out. You got 15K in savings. You got 25K in an IRA you can roll over and do something with. And I said, you need to get you a self-directed IRA outside of that rollover. Get you a Roth or something, get set one up for you and your wife. That could be $6,500 each a year. That's potentially $13,000. I said you could start an educational IRA for your kids. That's another $2,000. So you could technically put away about another $15,000 a year in savings that you could use to invest. You could partner with your self-directed IRA where your old 401k new IRA, that's investing a chunk, funding a chunk, and another chunk comes from what you're putting away. He's like, this is awesome. I didn't even think about that. I'm like, yeah. So, but the first thing you got to do is you got to get educated. I said, let's find you a real estate investment club in your area. And we did a quick search. We found a couple. And I said, one big thing when you're looking at IRA clubs, and I don't remember if I mentioned this, is that there are basically 3 types of clubs. All right. You have those that you have investors that get together, they have coffee, they network. It's just an informational type of setting. They might have people that come in once in a while to speak on something, but it's all information. There's no sales. That doesn't mean you can't sign up if somebody's offering training, but usually it's informational. They'll have the for-profit clubs, which usually, there's nothing wrong with for-profit. It costs money to rent spaces, provide refreshments, food, stuff like that. Meeting space is not cheap in hotels, where they'll bring in people to speak on different things and they'll offer products. I said the big thing you want to do is try to find you a free networking group it's just information, it's networking, but then also find you one where they are going to bring in experts, but making sure to talk to the people doing deals in those areas. What types of deals are they doing? What types of deals are they seeing? Unfortunately, you will often sometimes have the third group, which is just solely focused on the person running the group. And what I mean by that is that they're only focused on the deals that they're doing. They won't let anybody else come in education. Everything's got to be slanted to putting money or deals into their pocket. Okay, it's not really the RIA group that they're hoping for. It's all towards them. And I've known people that run groups that's all focused on them, not really focused on helping their students out. They use the group as a bird dog so people bring them deals, but they're not really providing a lot of great value or helping people get out of that. So make sure you're not in one of those groups. It's like, thank you very much. And so then also get educated. There's plenty of podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff that you can find and strategies that work. Just do a search for that and follow that for a little while before you actually purchase a class. Education is great. And a lot of times to take you over that next step, you've got to pull the trigger and buy a class from an expert like yours truly in the note space who's been doing it for a while. I said, make sure before you buy anything, ask that person how many deals they've done in the last 12, 24, and 36 months, because the market's changed quite a bit. You don't want somebody who's doing deals 5 years ago that's not doing a deal today. That's not what you want to do, okay? He's like, thank you very much. So another thing that I would do, I said, and I asked him, I said, what do you want to do? Do you eventually want to leave your job? He's like, eventually, not right now. It's like, that's great. That's good. And if you're in that shoes, here's another thing that you need to do. If you don't have an LLC, go get you an LLC right now. Okay, go get you one, because you're going to want to season an LLC so that if you do decide to leave in 2-3 years, that LLC's got some seasoning behind it, maybe some experience and stuff like that. That way you could actually set that LLC up with your bank, institutions, and can actually start working to get business credit, business lines of credit that banks like to give if you've got some seasoning and things like that too. So, and there's also some programs out there where banks are supposed to give you some lines of credit too for new entities and stuff like that too. But go get that set, because you do not want to be buying in your own name. Okay. And that's the thing. If you're sitting there on the sidelines, you're wanting to get started, you don't know where to begin, where to turn to, go to a real estate club in the local area, sit in the back couple rows, talk to people. You can't be a wallflower real estate club. Get there and talk about the deals. Hey, what kind of deals have you done lately? You're going to find a mixture of a lot of people that haven't done a deal. That's very normal at real estate clubs. But what you're looking for is the 10% of people that show up to these clubs that are doing something. And I told them, hey, the back 2 rows, usually the back, if I'm on the front of the room and facing the audience, the back far right is where I like to look for the most seasoned people in these REIA clubs, and that's often the case. And he started chucking a little bit about that. I said, well, let's go talk to them, ask them what they're doing, what do they focus on, how long they've been investing. Introduce yourself to the president of the club, tell them you're new, or hey, who should I be talking to who's new? I said, one of the most valuable things while you have a nice little nest egg is you got to understand raising private capital and the fact that there's so many IRA investors out there, people with money willing to lend. So you don't need just to look at your account and say, I have 25 in an IRA or 401k and 15k savings, and I can only invest in 40k. No, that's not the case. There's a lot of money, but you got to understand the fact how to raise private capital. I said, hey, go to your IRA clubs, look and see what kind of education they provide. They will often have mixers as well for you to network with. And then of course, leverage YouTube University, leverage podcasts, jump on Connected Investors, Bigger Pockets, some of those things to take a look at too for you. Those are great resources too. But you got to realize, oftentimes you'll have people on there that are just talking and not doing. People that have 20,000 posts or answers to thing, they're too busy answering Bigger Pockets versus going out and doing some stuff. So you got to take things with a grain of salt. But that's what I would recommend. If you've got a good job and you're making good money, enjoy it. Use the time frame to pad your investment. If you've got a ton of equity in your house and you're working, take the opportunity now while you have good FICO score, good job history, or you're in the same type of industry for more than 2 years. Go to your bank, see what they'll do for a line of credit. Doesn't mean you need to take that money out. Go see what they will offer you. In Texas, they'll offer you up to 80% equity. So if you had a lot of capital or appreciation in your house in the last couple of years, like a lot of Texas have, you might be able to just make a phone call and get a line of credit pulled where you can tap into it at any given time off of a signature, or even like some banks would use a debit card you can pull off of. And then it doesn't have to be like a revolving line. If you take a chunk out, you could even say, okay, I want to turn this into a fixed loan, like a second lien against my house or something like that, if you decide to do that. The important thing is knowing what the payments are, knowing what the terms are. If you're going to use it, make damn sure that you're going to get a much higher return, hopefully double the return of what you're having to pay the bank on that line of credit. If you're in that position like a lot of Americans are, go do it now. It takes a couple phone calls. It's worth showing up the day or two and collecting the information you need to get that line of credit available to tap into, because you never know when you're not going to. Because if you leave your job and then you go try to get a line of credit and you're brand new to a job, you're not going to be able to get anything. Or if you get in a spot where you need it, job loss, sickness, something happens, and you don't have that line of credit available to you and can't qualify for it, now the only way to tap into that equity is to sell your house. And I'm not a fan of that. I think mortgage debt is not bad. Paying off your house is a great thing, but that equity is then tied up in the house and you can't tap into it. And it's just sitting there. And the only way to tap into it would be to sell the house or do it. So having a line of credit against your house for any equity you have available, or rental properties too, is a great way to do it. And that's why I told Cody, I said, listen, see if you can get a qualified line of credit, figure out what's working in your area, learn from local people. If it's an area you don't like and stuff like that, then look for other places nearby. And as always, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm glad to answer any questions too. And I put that out to each and everybody out there listening to this or watching this video. Go to talkwithscottcarson.com if you have a question or two about investing, how to get started, what to put in place. Feel free, book a call with me. I'm always glad to answer it. So do a quick recap there. Max out your 401k retirement accounts, right? Make sure it's not bleeding money. One of the biggest mistakes my ex-father-in-law did, he kept putting money into stock. It was going at 20-30% growth. And then guess what happened? The company he worked for, gas prices dropped. He lost over half of his retirement in less than a year because he didn't put it into something a little bit. Yes, it's excited to get drunk on those returns, and he's getting closer to the retirement age. And I said, you need to move this money around into something that's a little bit more stable for you so you don't lose it. Oh, no, it's going to keep going up 33% year over year. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And he sure as heck got hit hard in 2010 when things dropped. But anyway, so max out your 401k. Make sure you're not paying through the nose on fees for that, okay? If you've got an old 401k, old retirement, roll it into a self-directed IRA, okay? So that you can use that money to invest. You can't use that money to go to the store and go to Neiman Marcus or something like that, but you can use it to buy real estate, buy notes, lend it out to other investors, okay? Next thing, start an IRA for you, your spouse, your kids, whatever you can qualify for, but find you a self-directed IRA company that can help educate you and show you what options are available to you. Get you an LLC, start an LLC, and get that rolling. So you've got some credit, get you a bank account with your LLC. It's one important. Join your local real estate club. It's important so you can start networking with other investors. And then if you've got equity in your house, go see if you can qualify for a line of credit. Now, if you've got like $5,000, $10,000 in equity, that's not any equity. We're talking a sizable chunk of $50,000 or $100,000 in equity. And don't go by Zillow. Talk to a realtor friend, have them pull comps, look at what you owe. If you're at that 80% of value, you're probably not gonna be able to get too much of a line of credit. But if you start falling below 80, where you're at 70, 60% of the true value of your house, you could probably get a line of credit. And every $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in equity and a line of credit can help you purchase a deal. It doesn't need to be a huge mansion, but you can pick up a rental, you can buy subject to, you can do some private lending. Lots of great things there for you. But that's what I would do. And get educated. Look, don't be a fool. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room, but you also want to be the dumbest person in the room too. So get educated, go network with those that are pulling deals. I have always found that the most successful investors, entrepreneurs, are the ones that are most giving their time to people who are starting off, because they don't want you to make the same mistakes. I made plenty of mistakes in my 20 years of investing. I don't want you to make the same thing. All right. So go out there, take some action. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Start putting these things in place. Start making offers. Start talking to people. One of the things that I used to do when I traveled and coached new investors is I always say you need a team. If you're going to invest locally, you need a local team. You need a good realtor, or even starting off who can pull comps for you, maybe make some offers. You need a title company they close in. Find out an investor-friendly title company. Look for local hard money lenders that can also help you with financing on a traditional piece of property, and maybe you use your savings to fund the additional piece for rehab. Find 2 or 3 hard money lenders and find out exactly what they're lending on. Okay, so that's a realtor, title company, hard money lender, and then find you also a really good real estate attorney to help you set up your LLC, set up your contracts and stuff like that for you as well. Now, an attorney may not set up your LLC properly for you. You may want to use a company like Laughlin Associates out of Reno, Nevada that we use, but we do find local real estate attorneys to help us with foreclosure, ask questions, or to have closings take place. And those 4 folks, look there, like I said, realtor, agent, realtor and agent, title company, hard money lender, real estate attorney. Those 4 is important. And then, of course, your vendors. Look for general contractors. Get recommendations from your local real estate club, or realtors for vendors like rehab crews, general contractors, landscaping, sheetrock, external roofing. A good contractor can save you money. Maybe you network at local BNI groups to find that if you've got the time. But if you're working a 9 to 5, you may not have a lot of time during the day, in the morning or the evening to go out and network. So you have to do it at night. So go out there, find your real estate club, tap into it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, guys and gals out there. We're here to help in any way we can for you. So go out, definitely take some action. Make sure that the next 2 years are the most fruitful for you, so that when you are ready to leave that job, if you want to, you've built a great path, great savings, and already have some cash flow coming in to replace your income. And don't leave your job until you've got your income replaced on a cash flowing basis for you. You don't have to have millions of dollars in profits to leave your job. If you're making and buying rentals or performing notes, or even non-performing notes that you turn into performing, or taking over subject to deals or stuff like that are returning monthly cash flow for you, hey, that's financial freedom. And you'll really find that you're maybe just a few deals away, or a lot closer to financial freedom than you ever thought. So go out there, like I said, take action, and we'll see you at the top, everybody. Thanks for listening.